Hi, John.
Hey, Alex.
Hi, Sean.
Mm-hmm. Kind of, but only on Thursdays.
I'm more Kaylee than Mike Ehrmantraut.
We want Skinamarink.
Skinamarink, dinky dink, Skinamarink doo. I love you. Skinamarink, dinky dink, Skinamarink doo. I love you.
Yes. So the most instances of Kaylee since Mike Ehrmantraut stubbed his toe on a Lego. So John, let me ask you this about Skinamarink.
Yes.
Was your favorite scene the one with the camera that's dead static, showing static brown with whispering, or was it the scene where the camera was upside down, showing just kind of static with a bit of brown and some whispering?
Probably the upside down. I like it.
Really? Because I liked the 45 minutes of staring at a corner. That was my favorite.
Yeah.
So let me just be very clear here. I'm going to shit on this movie a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say this. I don't know if it exists, but I'll tell you right now, I love the 15-minute film this should have been. And I'm betting this was based on a college movie because this is 20 minutes of fucking awesome. I love what they're doing. It's talented. There's so much there. But oh my God, I know I say this pretty often, but I was doing it in my head. Other than Suburban Sasquatch, I think this is the movie I would want to rewatch the least of everything we've ever watched on this show.
I figured you were either going to be on board 100% or hate this. And I was leaning towards hate this, and I feel justified.
It's not that I hate it. It's 100% not for me. Like this, so this movie reads as, this movie to horror watchers is like train videos to autistic people, where it's just like, look, it's the same thing you like for an hour and a half. Cool. I'm not autistic and I don't like horror enough. This is not, well, that first one's debatable. But the second one, I don't like horror enough. There's no debating that. Oh God, the main frustration after the movie stuff is I couldn't even watch it in fast forward because nothing fucking happens. So I could miss the tiny little slivers of something. But overall, no, honestly, I think this is an incredible movie for its budget. It could not be less for me.
Right.
Oh my God, was it a snooze fest for me?
It demands a lot. It demands a certain amount of, particularly that first half hour. It demands,
that was the worst.
It demands submission. It demands that you this is the movie that we're telling, because it's very much, well, let me back it up and say, if you look up this movie, a lot of the shit you're going to see is Skinamarink explained, this explained, but I don't think the movie's about that at all. I think the movie itself is it's the experience of it. And I think by submitting in that first half hour to this is the vibe, this is what it's going to do, it rewards you for that. Because it is just part of, it's just a vibes based movie, and it's either going to resonate with you or it's not. Because there's a guy, I very much a fan of the Oakshire Brewing Company here in Portland. There's a tasting room fairly near me, and there's a guy that works there. It's a big horror head, and we'll chat occasionally. Fucking hated this thing. He hated.
Was his name Tom Bombadil?
His name was indeed Tom Bombadil.
Okay, because that's the only name of the
his
Oakshire.
Amazingly hot wife. Both work there. No, but it's just.
Hey, why don't you go in the back and try some of the Goldberry ale? The Goldberry. Hey, we saw you from across the bar. Like your vibe.
That's okay. Just my Lord of the Rings references are very, very few. I don't know too much about it.
Honestly, the fact that you even know who Tom Bombadil is pretty good because he's not in the movies. So it's
But it is it's very much, and you are correct to a degree. Kyle Edward Ball, who's the guy behind Skinamarink, has a YouTube channel called Bite-Sized Nightmares, and you can see what eventually becomes this movie. He does these little short films that are very much like that. It's very dreamlike. It's very rests heavily on your sort of subconscious, and in some ways your nostalgia of being young and afraid. If nostalgia is not the right word, but it taps into that feeling of your mom has just kissed you goodnight, and there might be a monster under the bed. You don't know. So I would recommend, if you have not seen Skinamarink, to not watch those. It's such for me anyway, because it's such an experience, it's such a unique experimental thing that kind of having the vibe going into it, I don't know if that would work as well. It might prep you for it, for the kind of for the languid pacing.
So my main like argument against this movie, and again, it's very much based on just my not liking horror that much, and I do like horror, but like I think for this movie to be so navel gazy, it needs to have not a bigger budget, but it needs to do a little bit more than just kind of. I get it. It was made for super cheap. Mm-hmm. That kind of grainy, your eyes are making the picture for you. Brilliant idea. Like, this is a million times better than Clerks when it comes to like ultra low budget filmmaking. Like, this movie did a great job. In order for me to like it as a film, I either needed to get weirder or give me just a skosh more plot. Mm-hmm. Like, just the smoke. It doesn't have to, I like that it doesn't tell me what's happening. I like that off the top of my head, I can think of 2 or 3 different ways you could read the movie. All great. But for me to like the movie, I need to do show like a clown with a knife in the corner or something. I mean, don't do that, but, or have the mom talk a little bit more coherently, or go super fucking weird Black Lodge style. Like a little person comes out dancing, speaking backwards. Like, let's go full fucking, because I mean, this movie is very much like, hey, I grew up watching Twin Peaks, the movie.
Well, there's some that what it feels like to me is, so when I first saw this movie, when this was like making the festival circuit and getting some buzz, like Kyle Edward Ball had already signed a deal with Shudder. Shudder was like, we love this, we want to take it, that's fine. A version of it, a copy of the movie got leaked online, and so it got a big buzz online, and that's initially where I watched it. Like someone on Twitter had posted or whatever. So watching it that way added a lot to it, just in the sense I'm clicking this forbidden link to watch what's essentially like the video that you watch from The Ring. Like you're watching someone's nightmare. Mm. And that added so much to it, where it was like this creepy thing. I shouldn't actually I know some people they were showing at the Hollywood around here. Like seeing in the theater to me seems very strange. I'm sure it's like with the sound or whatever, it could be very cool, but and that sort of forced immersion that I think is harder to get on in home viewings a lot because you have so many more distractions around you. But at the same time, that kind of I'm alone, it's 2 a.m, I'm watching a thing on my computer that I maybe should not even be watching is kind of terrifying. I think added to the whole experience.
Yeah, I get that. And they're doing that on purpose, like the kind of pseudo found footage kind of thing. But that's the other kind of structural issue I have with the film, is that there's no one holding the camera, and yet they want you to have the camera be a person. And it just bothers me on a structural, what if you're trying to get the best of both worlds? You're trying to get the paranormal activity, one camera, one, in one spot, and the camera as a person, which is fine since it's a weird nightmare thing. It's just, it's cheap. So I feel bad.
What if the camera though, what if the camera is the entity? What is the camera is the thing in the house? And it's basically showing you a highlight reel of him terrorizing children.
Okay. I had 7 things I could say, all of which is going to have to be edited out later.
Yeah, I was going to say, I said children, so that was going to go nowhere.
Yeah. Well, this was actually extra dark. This wasn't just going to be some dumb Epstein thing. I think that goes more towards this movie needs more plot for me to understand that as an entity. Because I don't buy that there's anything. So the way that I was reading, my initial read of it is that this is a psychologically abused child. He's suffering severe, most likely, trigger warning people. This is going to be awful. I think
and spoilers, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Equally
if they're
bad.
listening to this show. Yeah. That's personally, I think so. It seems to me that it is the father is doing some horrific things to that child. Mm-hmm. It's established in the beginning, oh yeah, no, he fell down a flight of steps. Nice, fine now. There's so little dialogue in this movie that being in there leads me to believe it's the 2 theories that I think are the valid readings of the film. I mean, there's others, but the ones you can take from actual evidence, not just this is what I want to read into this, which is also valid, but is abused child or the old kind of Jacob's Ladder thing, the kid's in a coma or been dead the whole time, and this is
right, he hit his head, and this was the.
I mean, and fine, whatever. Here's the thing. As somebody that wrote a book that is essentially the reaction was the reaction I'm giving to this, I probably shouldn't be this, but like I think maybe that's giving me the insight. It's like, yay, just throw weird shit in a row, and just when people ask you a question, be like, oh yeah, was that what I meant?
What I think, what I got this time, I got two things this time around. Two crazy crackpot theory corners going on here. First one being having fairly recently watched Kenneth Anger's, I think it's not Inauguration of the Pledge of No. No, it's the Invocation of My Demon Brother. Like, you know who Kenneth Anger is, right? Like, weird.
Yeah, I've not seen any of his stuff, but I'm familiar with him. Yeah.
There's some occult stuff going on there, makes these movies. And in Invocation of My Demon Brother, it starts with these 3 circles, like 2 on the bottom, 1 on the top, stacked like a pyramid. And the movie's very weird or whatever. And at the end, that pyramid is inverted. And so it almost feels like what you just watched was an incantation of some sort. Like whatever process you just did was done. Yeah. And so I started thinking about that, is that like all these geometric shapes you're seeing, this movie is actually like an incantation of some sort that is summoning something. Yeah. There's some evil thing.
Yeah.
But that's one crazy theory I had. The other one is, what the monster is? It's divorce. Because the mom is not present.
Yeah.
The mom, it's clearly like just the dad at the beginning when the kid falls down the stairs and you hear the dad talking. Like there's reference to the mom not being there. But who's he gonna call to tell that his kid fell down but is okay now? Who would he call for that? You know what I mean? Like the mom.
I want to say Ghostbusters, but I feel like that's not what you're fishing for.
No, but it's probably the mom. And so when you get divorced,
so like the 2016 Ghostbusters.
Yes.
Sorry, I keep stepping on a joke.
When you it's not. This is not a joke. This is a real fucking theory. When you get divorced, the love in the house festers and becomes this evil, awful demon, and it leaves kids in hell. Hell being the absence of God's love. That's why it's this dark, horrible world, which is you and this other guy, with this entity, whatever he is. So you've cursed your family to hell by getting divorced.
I thought you were kidding the other day when you sent me that link to the Westboro Baptist Church, but I'm starting to understand a little bit here.
Look, I've had an awakening.
No, the Rita, the mother is there for a minute there's like a demonic part where you see the back of her head or yada yada. But no, the divorce thing is a good read, but I think that goes to the child abuse thing.
No, it is. Yeah.
Like, because, the mother either was chased away, but that's the whole, I took her mouth away, is like she's the older child, so she's the one that's good enough to be able to explain what the trauma she's gone through.
Yeah.
So the mother leaving is like, I think the cheesy reading is the dad killed the mom and said, that's going to fucking happen to you if you tell anybody, kind of thing.
I mean, to me, in all honesty, I I take it as face value. I take it as no, there's an evil thing in the house. I think there's it has space for that, for these kind of readings, but I think it is I don't think there is an explanation. I think it's just it's open enough to be whatever.
I think he made the movie. I would doubt that the director or writer, blah 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 blah, Beljar, that he knows the explanation. I think he just made a thing and he's like, yeah, these are just themes and throwing in a row. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, it's a $15,000 movie. This is an incredible success by every metric.
Yeah. I think he has ideas. I just don't think it's one of those, it's like a David Lynch thing where it's the movie is the talking. I don't think you're going to get an answer from him about it. Maybe you, and he's, I don't know.
Very David Lynch. There's so much Twin Peaks in this movie. Like I was saying, this is actually the Black Lodge's daycare center.
Sure.
It's just it just feels very David Lynchy, the whole movie. And that's, that's a compliment. See, I'm very warm on the movie I don't like.
But it's also, I mean, I think it also draws from things like the films of Chantal Akerman or Tarkovsky, where it's very interested in you experiencing the time of this. It's not just making sure you have these plot beats, but it's more just the repetition of certain elements and the feeling of being, of the time passing, that you're feeling trapped with these kids.
The other interpretation I was playing with, and I think this is fun for paranormal people, people that are into ghosts and whatever, is what we're witnessing is the ghost perspective of one of those kind of Zach Bagans shows, talking to us. That's why everything kind of sounds like an EVP. It's tell your sister, put it in your eye. It's like that weird shit that they capture when they do those ghost hunting shows. And what we're getting is, this is what it's like to be on the ethereal plane while the ghost hunting show is there.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean,
but it kind of goes away when blood falls on the ceiling and you're like, Yeah, I don't remember Ghost Hunters UK throwing buckets of blood anywhere.
Right. But I do think that that's, I mean, drawing from those sort of ghost story things. And I think a lot of it for me is also, like I said, this sort of weird nostalgia of like, I think about being a little kid and seeing something scary on TV or something and just like how my sister and I would react. Like when the little kid is like, can we watch something happy? That was like, oh man, I remember feeling like that. So there's a weird like nostalgia for it, but it's also like this curdled nostalgia.
It's interesting that line jumped out at me because the whole movie we've been watching cartoons, and it's an interesting line of, can we watch something happy? And you're like, what the fuck does that even? And again, I think a lot of this movie is just, I mean, it's obviously a dreamlike. That's what they're going for. There's this phrase I'm going to teach the audience. So on my other podcast, Eric and Alex watch stuff. I don't remember the name of it, but I do a segment where I introduce people to fun words that we call, hey, look at the shiny rock I found. And then I teach you a fun word. There's a word, and I think it's valid English, but it comes from German, called Eigengrau. And Eigengrau is the name of the gray you see when you close your eyes. You know, you get that kind of staticky gray, and sometimes you can see little images going on there. And that just popped in my head. This whole movie, this movie could have been called Eigengrau. In like a good way, you know, not in like a no, I can't see that joke. Oh, crap. Yeah, whatever.
But no, I think that's fair, because it is so much. This movie is dark and like super, super grainy. And what I like is that look, it's not necessarily trying to be, hey, this looks like a VHS or something like that. Like it's not clear what exactly it's trying to replicate.
No, it looks like a 60s film stock, like 8mm film stock.
But it's like,
it is not
clearly like 90s stuff. So it's weird. It just is. It has this like sort of weird nostalgic feeling, but the grain also works because so much of the footage is shot in darkness. So you're seeing shapes in there. You're looking for shapes. You're seeing things, and so I think your active viewing in that adds to it. He did say, I read an interview with him once where he said in the background of one of those scenes, like there is something, but I'm never going to say which. There's someone back there, but I'm never going to say which screen. And I think you can just kind of trick your eyes into seeing stuff that's not there. And depending on your involvement with the movie, I think that adds to it a lot.
I will teach you another word, and probably not you. I'm more teaching the audience this. Yeah, by the way, my other podcast is called WizBiz with Alex and Eric, available on all podcatchers. Leave us a review on Spotify. All you have to do is click 5 stars. It's great. Same for this show, but mostly my other show. Is pareidolia. Pareidolia is when you see shapes and things that don't happen, when you start recognizing patterns. And so, yeah, like when you see that staticky Eigengrau and you're like, oh, I think I see a, Mr. Potato Head in there.
Although speaking of like seeing things that aren't there or making a bunch out of inanimate objects, if I see one of those fucking Fisher-Price phones, it is on sight. Because this is my third time watching it. And when you just see it at the beginning, I'm like, I want to fight that thing. I hate that guy.
I didn't like it at first, and then I hated it extra when you saw its eyes first in the dark, and you're like, fuck. But also, I'm glad you brought that up, because I wasn't sure when to bring this up. But you were saying that this movie can be read as like some kind of like incantation or spell. This is a dark song, but makes slightly less sense. Is that what would make this movie a million times better? If at the end they invoke Mr. Bucket, and Mr. Bucket is the god of it, and he just said next to that phone, like, the balls pop out of my mouth. And the director, ball.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's all circular. Yeah.
It is, and I will take the criticism fully that like there's just straight up just fucking jump scares in this. There it is.
Yeah.
But I think
there's not as many as I think this could have been a shitload worse. Actually, and you know me, I hate jump scares, and I felt like there was. I would have liked less.
Right.
But I felt like there wasn't so many that was like something I was going to bitch about.
It's a thing that like on rewatches that the lead up is way worse than the thing itself. You know what I mean? Like, know it's coming, but like one of the scariest things. So basically, I mean, we've been dancing around it, but basically the plot of this movie is these two kids, and you never see the faces of anyone in this movie. It's like, as Alex has referenced, there are shots that are just like, they're always like very low to the ground, or like here's just like a wall. Cinematography is very strange, but you get the sense at the beginning this little kid falls down the stairs. Sister says he was sleepwalking, but there's some like he's talking to someone. So is there something there? Is he just sleepwalking? No. Dad gets on the phone. Like you hear them leave and come back, and then like the dad's on the phone. It's like, no, I fell down the stairs. He's fine. Blah 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 blah. Then it goes to these two kids, Kevin and Kylie. Kevin's the one that fell down Kaylee, sorry. Kevin's the one that fell down the stairs. And they are basically like tormented now by this entity in the house. You're not sure what it is at first, but like doors start disappearing. Just weird stuff starts happening. The entity like starts making itself known. Dad disappears. We don't know where Dad is.
Just a toadstool.
Yeah. Or the whole time he's been there. Don't know. But I thought you were going to do something weird.
No, I was dumb whispering under you where you're going.
But the yeah, so like weird stuff starts happening, and there's a few
Time for butt stuff.
but there's definitely jump scares, but like the stuff that's not jump scares to me is way worse. Like, so at one point Kaylee hears a voice that's like, the entity is basically like, go upstairs, and she does, and there's her dad sitting on the bed, and he's like, look under the bed. That was
fuck that.
Fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
And every time.
Fuck that.
Every time. There's not a jump scare there. Spoiler, there's not a jump. Every time though, I'm like, don't fucking look under the bed. What are you doing? What are you doing?
So let me, I'm going to tell everybody a story about my mental health. It's a quick one that relates directly to this. So last year, I had some surgery and something went weird with it. And I ended up having like a 6-month-long horrific panic attack to the point mildly threatened to be put away by my therapist. Follow up with that. Everything was scary for a minute, to the point that I was checking under my bed before I went to sleep.
Oh, geez.
100% sure there was nothing there. It got in my brain as in an OCD, did I remember to turn the stove off way. I know I turned the stove off, but I need to do it to just that click. I have gotten back to normal with everything, but I still, like, I'm not saying every night, but like, if the thought occurs to me, I just go, fuck, I don't feel like dealing with this right now. I'm just looking underneath it.
Yeah.
Not that I don't think there's anything
no,
under
but you
there,
just have to
but
do it.
my brain has that click. And watching that part, I'm like, oh no. Oh, I'm there with you. Like, oh boy, do I not. Also, that fucking kid obeys orders way too well. So maybe his parents were great. Maybe he needed the abuse to learn discipline. Because he's like, he's like hanging out, like, go to the basement. Yeah, fuck yeah, I'll go to the basement.
Okay.
No,
yeah.
I'm not going to the basement. I live in a basement. I almost went upstairs and hugged my landlady. Like, fuck you. Don't tell me that. Come to the attic. Yeah. No, you, gross.
I did when I
put
first,
a knife in your eye. That's the only one I agree with. I could do that.
When I first watched this, I was, like I said, I was alone, and it was super late at night, and I had all the lights off except for my computer, and I made sure before I like put my computer to sleep that I turned the light on, just because I was like, I'm a grown man, but you know, hey, things can happen.
No, it's fucking terrifying.
But like I think some of that atmospheric stuff works, and I can see what you're, and yes, if you were just like going for that, I think if you truncated it down to like a tiny bit, but I do think that like all that waiting does add to it. It's hard because like I can't describe this to the audience and be like, yeah, you gotta wait, whatever, and we're talking about go see it, because I feel like going in as cold as possible to this movie is part of it. Is to me is part of it. Is like just have this experience. Don't go in expecting one thing or another.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I guess pause the episode and watch it, because it's certainly I'm never watching it again, but I would almost recommend, if you're into that kind of stuff. Like, there's some people I know that would really like this movie more than I did. It's just a little, it's navel-gazy, and I think if you're more, and I'm not trying to blame everything on my not liking horror, because I grew up loving horror. Like, that's what I watched when I was a kid. Like, so I'm not like a horror, like, hold my nose at it. But I don't think I'm steeped in modern horror enough that this is like a very kind of geeky, someone like this guy probably had a Shudder subscription. Like, it's got that kind of nerd vibe to it. Like, I'm a horror nerd vibe that like, I think I don't have the horror literacy to like really want to sit there.
Well, it has a vibe. It's a lot more,
maybe internet horror might be.
That's what I was just going to say. Like, it feels much more steeped in that, much more steeped in the weird, what do they call the creepy pastas and that kind of thing. And it's this and We're All Going to the World's Fair were two that were very much like heralded as like, oh gosh, this new era of internet horror. They both are great movies. They're very, very different movies. I love both of them, but they're completely different films. But yeah, I think it's a new sort of like, without sounding too pretentious here, a new kind of horror language that's emerging, which I think is interesting. It is very experimental. And so like, I don't necessarily, what you're calling navel gazy, I see it, like, I understand what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree with it though, because I don't think it is like a lot of like, what I'm doing is important and this is all great. I do think there's like a deliberate choice to keep it this languid pace. I think not just to up the horror that when it's there, but it does force the audience to, in those quiet moments, like particularly men of people of a certain age, like ourselves, like to like soak in that sense and that feeling. And because that's like, I keep going on about this nostalgia thing, but there's so much of it there. It's just like I'm immediately like in my bed again. Like I can picture this.
Oh no, this is absolutely glomming onto that feeling of being a child and being afraid. And not in like the abuse way I was saying before. Like, I mean, that may be part of it. Like the bog standard, there's a boogeyman in the closet, kind of thing.
So I think it's much more about capturing that feeling than about like telling the story necessarily.
Yeah. I don't know. It felt, I mean, no, that's it. I mean, really my entire thing is it feels like a half an hour thing.
Sure.
That got stretched. And, there's some great stuff in there. I just don't have the patience for it. And like some of the scares are like, I don't have a better way to put it, but it's a little easy. Like not in the jump scare way, but it's like, we both love the under the bed thing, but it's like, yeah, I know everybody's afraid of under the bed. That's like, and like in one way it's a compliment and the other way it's just like, it's a little easy. Like all of it's a little easy or just too obtuse.
I think though that little easy, I think the reason it works though is because it's been built. If you just like have a scene, you're like, well, hey, look under the bed and there's nothing there. I think it's because it set up that tone and whatever.
Yeah.
And that you're in that whole, you're feeling that whole vibe. That I think makes that what seems like an easy thing sells it. Because otherwise it might not work as well. But I understand what you're saying, that because it's a lot of kind of the same type of scares over and over again, the same type of unease and whatever. I didn't necessarily mind that. And I'm always a sucker for like creepy cartoons. Like, man, old cartoons are kind of creepy. And I thought this one did that well. It wasn't just like,
oh, I disagree on that whole.
What if we just had this weird counterpoint? Because I like how they mess with it too. Like when it repeats that same little section over and over and over again. I like that a lot.
I would have liked it. I think the choice of cartoon, I know he's got to find public domain cartoons to use. And, it's a difficult task, but like those distracted me. The parts where they start getting distorted and weird, I'm there with it. But like, I just think it was a little too, I don't know. There just wasn't like the menace to it. I can't think of like a better way to do it, but like there's a certain kind of tonality that just, it was a little too up for me. And when it starts getting degraded, that's cool. But like, I don't know. I just kind of want like maybe even just, it'd be too, not this, but those Looney Tunes cartoons where they're in hell and there's skeletons dancing or something.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that obvious, but something a little more like tonally appropriate than like this one. There was like, I don't know, there was like a flower, whatever. I don't even remember what the fuck it was.
But I think for me, and this is just my own personal thing about it, like the in that scene that I'm mentioning where it's the I forget the name of the cartoon now, but it's a Warner Bros. Cartoon that there was a couple of them featuring these two dogs that would get into misadventures. They never talked or anything, but they were just dogs. And they're chasing around a magician's rabbit, and he does the thing where he makes the vase disappear. And it goes like whoop.
Presto Chango.
Yeah, well, the song that's playing in the background is like that is in so many cartoons, and so just hearing that, it like for me brings up this weird like kind of comfort and like, oh, I'm a kid again watching cartoons. That nice thing in the realm of all this other stuff makes that nice thing way worse. Like I don't see it as like too fun and light. I see it taking this thing that I'm remembering and like
I see what you're
making it bad. But that's the way it worked for me.
No, that's a good read. Yeah. But but that goes against the later line of, can we watch something, nice, happy now? Yeah.
Well, I think, it's not that they have been watching something happy. I think it's just that, a lot of shit has happened since they last. And also like, I like that there's no clear indication of how much time has passed. There's just like, there's a thing where they're like, we don't know where dad is. Let's just sleep with the TV on. I think it's time to get up. I'm not real sure. There's no windows anymore.
That part I loved, and that was the very Twin Peaksy part where like just windows disappear. That one point, and it's so fucking stupid, and I don't know why I hate it. I don't hate it, but when the toilet disappears, I laughed, which is like maybe that's what he was going for, but man, that feels tonally wrong. But I'm like, I don't know, I'm kind of there for it because it's so Twin Peaksy, because they do the eerie like theremin, like whoa.
Yeah. There's a weird noise when that stuff happens. Well, particularly when they kick we're like, well, what do we do now? And they kick the buckets in, and you just hear the kid go, gross. Like, I think there's a certain amount of like, I have to have at least 2 seconds of levity in this. Otherwise, this movie about two children being just terrorized.
Yeah. One of the notes that should be complimented, which, by the way, thanks to Joshua Buchalter, he was the assistant director that passed away before this movie came out, but apparently all the audio was on his computer, and his family was nice enough to let the director like go through and grab it.
Oh, that's nice.
You know, they're in the middle of like a horrific reading process, but they still let him like finish the. But so he's the sound guy, which I felt bad about because in the beginning of the movie, I'm like, the sound in this is fucking terrible. It is mixed like Christopher Nolan bad. But then I realized, oh, you're doing that to make me uneasy.
Yeah.
Like because like my main thought was like, it's just as loud someone talking from 2 rooms away as something that's happening under the in quotes camera. I'm like, oh God, is this that low budget? And then as it went on, I'm like, oh no, this is actually making me really uneasy.
Yeah,
this is like some weird
purpose.
brown note stuff.
Yeah.
Like, which and then as it went on, I'm like, I can't believe I ever disliked this. Like, this is kind of brilliant.
Anything that is operating on you like a brown note, like the whole time, you're just shitting yourself. You're like, brilliant.
Oh, did you not shit yourself at the end?
No.
I thought that's what that bucket scene was. It's everybody. It's like Rocky Horror. The bucket comes out and everybody shits themselves.
Woo!
Yeah, and then they throw popcorn.
No, but the sound is pretty great, and I like the choice, the deliberate choice to like subtitle some things and other things. Nope, you're on your own.
Yeah, I regret the way that I watch movies for that because I watch everything with subtitles on. And I'm like, shit. I wish I had because you're right. Like I think it took a little bit away when I knew what the noises were.
Does it tell you? Okay, because I wondered about that.
It says like tiny footsteps approaching.
Well, more just like
that
if
eerie noise.
If there's dialogue that's not subtitled, does it tell you what that's saying, or does it say like inaudible?
No, sometimes it does, and then sometimes it'll say like whispering. So like,
because there are times where you can understand it without the subtitles. There's other times where, to me anyway, it's not happening.
I think most of the time the dialogue that you're not supposed to understand wasn't closed captioned, but I think there were some times where some ghosty whispers that you weren't supposed to be able to hear it closed captioned. But if I knew they were going to close caption the light shit, I would have just turned the regular ones off. Which, by the way, if you watch Fiona and Cake, the Adventure Time spinoff on HBO Max, when the opening sequence for the first about 3 seconds, that voice from Dungeons and Dragons that describes everything is on. I don't know. There's something wrong with the app. So it goes like intro city, a young girl is running, and then it goes away. Like, so for like 3 seconds, there's like the audio description thing on. And every time I do it, I'm just like, oh, I'm a fucking idiot. Like every single time I just remember that. I'm like, oh, I'm a dummy. So in the we don't see anything, it's an effective enough look, but I don't love that we saw who I think is Kaylee with no eyes and mouth. It's a little like one spot the movie shows you something. And like, it wasn't that's not as big of a deal to have that be the one that we get to see the effect. You know what I'm saying? Like either do it, like make it a big razzmatazz at the end or don't do it at all. Like keep the vibe of it. But like it being like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes before the end of the movie, maybe more than that. But, and you get this one shot and it's like, yeah, that's a little, I don't know. It just felt like you kind of took away from some of the floaty weirdness of the film.
I can see that. Yeah. I mean, like I enjoyed it, but I can totally see it. And I also think just from a technical standpoint, the grain is a great idea because it covers up so much. Like you can tell, like there's, he's shared some stills from behind the scenes, like where the Barbie's floating in the air. It's just him holding the Barbie up, and you know he's used Photoshop to erase some content-aware fill or whatever. But then you throw so much grain on top of that you can just get away with doing like a half-ass job on that. You know, like
it's really brilliant.
It's not that he didn't try, you know, it's not like, well, you can tell anyway. No, but it's like that covers up a lot of mistakes and it still like adds to the whole thing. So very well done. Cause you know, particularly at the end when things start getting real weird and like, you know, it's like the closet that gets further and further away.
That was cool.
Yeah, I think like that's, you know, clearly just you have the still in your mood, you're, you know, dealing with it in post and Photoshop or whatever, but then like that helps sell it as a singular image, as this like, it doesn't feel like an effect as much. It just feels like part of this whole world.
Yeah. No, the grain bothered me at first only because it opens saying it's 1995, which
right.
We don't need it to be 1995, but whatever. If you're setting it in a time and place and you're doing a grain that isn't appropriate to the era, it just gave me a moment of pause. But then as I'm like, oh, this is going to be one of those, the horrors in your own head. You're staring at a gray space. and you're going to make up the monsters. Cool. This grain thing's awesome.
Right.
I'm into it. It was just like the 1995 in grain that looks like a Shaw Brothers movie.
Only,
it's like, oh, this is
only 90s
this is
kids will
weird.
get this.
Only
90s kids will be one of the 5 deadly venoms.
Nice.
It's very effective in that way, and I think like it helps for the effects and like that, because like all the just the doors disappearing is just going into After Effects or whatever program you're using, just a still in Photoshop or whatever, and just erasing that in content aware fill or painting it in yourself. And it's kind of that's pretty brilliant.
I love their like dissolves and fades, like just old school, just the next scene dissolves into the other. It works really well for like the dream sequence, but also it's like you're a beginning filmmaker and you've got $12 to make this movie, so stick with the classics.
I mean, so I just recently watched for the
Star Wipe
for the and I'm bringing this up not because you plug your podcast, but on This May Hurt a Bit, the other podcast is we just watched Pumpkinhead 2, which was apparently like a sub-$1 million straight to video sequel, and it's like, oh god, it looks so cheap, really compared to the first one, which didn't have, I mean, it had like a $3 million budget, but like it's made by Stan Winston and like just oozes atmosphere for what little money it has. And the second one is just like, we have like a day to shoot all of this, let's just put a camera in front of someone and let's go. And so that like, I'm super impressed when you're like, I have no money, but I made an atmosphere. I focused on that. I think particularly this time around, there's a lot more focused on that element of it. Which
I love the first Pumpkinhead. That was like a favorite movie.
The first one's great. It really like it punches above its weight in terms of like it has no money and whatever, but like Lance Henriksen is so good in it.
That's the part I remember. I couldn't remember who that was. I'm like, it's some great 70s guy, but I couldn't remember who it was.
But it's so it's that kind of thing where like you can take that money and like do something with it other than have Bill Clinton's brother have a cameo, which they do in Pumpkinhead too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Roger Clinton shows up. And I was like, I forgot all about that guy. Yeah, so I mean, like, and this is true very much of his YouTube channel as well, Bite-Sized Nightmares, where it is just these weird like dreamy vibes. He's got a very like David Lynch type thing going. But I'm not I'm not accusing him of ripping off David Lynch. He's not like trying to do the same thing, but it's like it's that same kind of like trying to tap into the subconscious, and
it's influenced by or whatever.
It's got this influence, like definitely like nostalgia and dreams and that kind of stuff. But it's his own take on it, and I'm curious what he does next. I will totally go check it out, because I don't necessarily want more of this. Like, don't do this again. But if you make another kind of movie like this, like I don't know, I'd be interested.
Another creepy movie. Like if he comes out with like An Empty Man or something, I'd be like, go you.
Yeah.
This is a mean note that I have, and I'm just gonna read it because I think it's funny. At this point, we're at that glitchy cartoon where it's just like, it starts getting weird. And I said, I left it on pause to take a piss. And when I came back, I didn't realize it wasn't on pause for 5 minutes. I don't know if I worded that right, but you get what I'm saying. I get
what you're saying. Yeah. Because it is a lot of arguably dead space.
I mean, it's fine. Like that's meaner than, because this movie did kind of win me over as it went along, but I was like,
but I think that's right. There's a part where the thing's on pause. You're like, oh, okay. Fuck, there was something I was watching recently where I totally had that same kind of thing where I'm like, oh, this is how it's going to be. Oh yeah, no, that's on purpose. I'm sorry. you are right.
Oh, you want to hear another like dumb joke? I have my notes here. Fucking E.L. James should sue this movie, because how many fucking shades of gray do they have? Because E.L. James are 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
And 50 Shades Darker.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
that's
50 Shades Freer? I don't remember what the last one was.
We all know the author of that book.
Oh, I didn't. I looked it up. I had no fucking idea. I like literally didn't have. I'm like, I thought it was like I'm like, it's like E.B. White. I'm like, no, it's definitely not.
It's definitely Shades of White.
Yeah. It's just like trying to, I'm like, it's letter something. I'm like, fine, I'll fucking look it up.
Yeah.
Anyway, all I need to know, I sacrificed my my search results being horrible for the next month for one dumb joke for you.
God, that sucks. I've done that. Like I made a stupid like thing for the Instagram reel for the other podcast, and like for a thing I was looking for I just ended up Googling like sexy lady. Like I'm looking for porn like an old man. I was like bikini woman. But I'm like, this is going to just like, I don't know. What's it going to do to my search results? But it's trying. Like that first half hour is very trying. And it's not going to win you over if you're not prepared for it. And I don't want to make it, that makes it sound like it's the fault of the viewer, but like it does require some patience. It does require some patience.
It somewhat is the fault. Yeah, maybe not the fault of the viewer, but it involves a person that's interested in sitting through this.
Yeah.
Like I would say, like, so I went to school for poetry. I have memories of going to poetry readings that I was like, this was fucking amazing. And then having the thought later of, I cannot even imagine how fucking awful that would be for someone that's not into poetry.
Yeah.
Like, just like, it's just not going to happen. This is very much that. Like, if you're of the right mindset, this is you know what it is? This guy probably describes scenes in this movie as being a tone poem.
Yeah,
like,
right, sure,
like
right.
he's very much just going, he's just vibing out. And that's totally cool if you're into that. I just... maybe I'm not as into it horror wise.
Well, I just today saw they re-released the Talking Heads concert film, Jonathan Demme concert film.
Oh yeah, I heard that happened. Like A24 or somebody did that.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know who all is behind it, but I think you're right. I think it might be A24. But anyway, Hazel and I went to go see that today. They're a big Talking Heads fan, and I fucking straight up do not like concert movies. I don't understand them. I don't get it. This was fun though. This was good. I did enjoy this. But I was thinking about that element of it. I'm like, basically, there's some element here that just is not connecting with me. The same way that like, oh, it's a pitching duel in baseball. Cool. So no one's going to be hitting the ball and I'm just going to be sitting here for a while. Like that's boring to me. There's just a certain element that's just not clicking with me. And I'm sure if you're into it, this is great, but it's just not doing it for me. And it's not necessarily that it's bad or whatever. Basically, yeah, that like, although I still like Stop Making Sense, I do think there's some element there that it's not reaching me compared to other people. And it's not that I don't like the Talking Heads or whatever, but it's just, I don't understand concert films.
I'm not a big concert film guy either. I like Stop Making Sense, the original one from whenever the fuck that was, but like in a very abstract, like I understand that to be good. I'm not gonna watch it again.
I mean, it's like at worst, I got to sit around and just listen to some Talking Heads songs. That's cool.
Yeah.
But the performance was great, whatever. I don't need to get all into that. But there's a certain amount of like, kind of like you were saying, it's just, it's not for me.
Yeah. So as the kind of end of the movie arrives, I do like when the camera completely goes upside down and you're on the roof, which again, for a movie made for $15,000, that looked cool as shit. Like that was really disorienting. Like I'm a big fan of that. Like there's a lot of good stuff. I don't mean to keep making this. Like I would love this to have been a half an hour.
No, that's fair. Like this does, like we keep talking about, it does take its time, and like it's either going to work for you on that level or it's not. I did when I saw this initially, like that pirated thing, and the little text comes up that says like 576 days.
I was about to ask you about that. Yeah.
I figured out like what's 576 days from now. I got to check in on that day to make sure I'm not dead because it's just like a ring situation.
That's a good point. Yes.
Yeah. There's some thoughts that it's like, oh, he's been in the coma for that long, that's how long the demon has been, let's say demon, entity, whatever, has been terrorizing them, because there's, like I said, like we've talked about, like there's no indication of time passing. Like you don't know how much time has passed. Like you have some ideas, but eventually like things just really start flowing into one another. Hard to tell. So I don't know.
That's why but
also, why would it let you know that? Like, why does that matter that it's been 576 days? What does that add to it? But
that was part of my evidence towards my half-baked idea of this being a reverse ghost hunting episode. That this is 572 days that they've been ghosts, and like that's the team from Haunted America going 572 days ago a father killed both of his blah 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 blah, and like this is, so it's them being tortured for blah blah blah, whatever. Well, the other question, on the numbers based questions on this, most of the movie I understood, and I think as much as you can understand it.
Sure.
The two spots I didn't get was the 572 were too concrete. Like it just feels like you're now laying your flag that this movie has a meaning, like a definitive.
There's a substance somewhere. You can base this on like, or are you just saying 576 days just to say it? It feels like, it feels like you're trying to impart some specific information to me.
Yeah. So if that's the case, it's not. But the 911 call was interesting to me. I don't really have a point here. I just kind of like, what hey John, what was that 911 bit about?
I like that. Well, I like at the beginning in particular when Dad first is gone, and they pick up the phone. You can hear like dialing a number, and then it doesn't work, and then you just hear the boop boop boop, and you're like, oh, that's 911. Just like, you know, 3 numbers, whatever. And then like, but in both those cases, there's no like, they just get dial tone. There's no, the calls aren't going through. The calls are coming from inside the house and they're staying from inside the house. And then later the phone like activates, like you hear a dial tone. So the kid's like, oh, okay, well, I'll dial 911. I've just stabbed myself in the eye because the entity has told me to. These kids are like 6 and 4, by the way, which makes this like all so much more horrible because you don't see what happens to any of it. But like, so you're left with your mind making it really bad. But it's pretty obvious in this moment that the entity was like, put a knife in your eye. And he's like, you got it. Boom.
No, I gotta tell you, if I could get my 6-year-old to get her mouth sewn shut, I'd probably get a little bit of time to myself. Am I right?
Oh, I hate my kids. I hate them.
Don't even get me started on the old ball and chain.
But so he dials 911 and like basically tells him like, I cut myself and now I feel sick. And like, just like, cause he's got like this little kid voice, like this, like little bit of a lisp kind of thing, but it's all whispered because they're trying to be quiet because I think they can hide from the entity or whatever. And I'm not clear because that whole thing goes out. The guy's like, you got to stay with me. You got to, but the camera's getting further and further away. You're only hearing some of the conversation. And I can't tell at the end of that, is it the whole thing is like, no, this was, you never actually like were talking to anyone. This was just the horrible malevolent force messing with you more. Or if the kid like lost blood and passed out or like if any number of other things, but you get the sense that it doesn't really, it certainly doesn't go anywhere. You could argue that maybe it does. And that like he's being rescued at the end, that's the lights flicking on and off. Is someone looking for, I don't know. But it seems very much like this is all a lost cause.
It reminded me of, and I'm sorry, that part. Oh, no, I mean, this is one of the good movies he made, so I'm not sorry. In The Sixth Sense, the first time Haley Joel Osment realizes that he can help people, so he takes the bus to that little girl's house that like her dad or somebody in the family was poisoning her, and you get to see the video of her being like, oh, now I feel worse. It just reminded me of that, of just like this. Like if they are ghosts, this is like almost the videotape of them. This is the phone call that happened the night that dad snapped and, you know, killed mom and, you know.
Well, there's some theories about that too, where really towards the end, you see things, you're still upside down, but where you're seeing the hallway, like the corner hallway and like blood splats everywhere. And then like it goes away and then it comes back. Is that the dad murdering him? Is that the entity actually like finally like, all right, no, I'm done with you. I'm going to throw you away and I'm going to kill you. Or is it just messing with him further? Like, cause after Kaylee has had her eyes and mouth taken away, that we stop following her entirely. There's like, she's here now. She's just in the bedroom with the eyes and mouth thing, being afraid.
Yeah. Doesn't
seem like she's ever like straight up murdered or anything. Although you do see there's kind of like a hallucinatory thing where he sees you see a figure sitting on the bed and kind of just slowly disappears. It's hard to tell because all the grain.
Yeah.
But then it goes to their photos that are kind of disappeared, which I really like those, the when you see all the photos, because they're not, for lack of a better word, they're not professionally done. It's not this thing where it's like, oh, well, they're just clothes there, but there's no body in there. It clearly just looks like someone went Photoshop and just erased them. So it adds a level of uncanniness because there's still an arm there or whatever, but it's not like there's just empty clothes. It just clearly looks like they were erased.
Which, by the way, you just gave a really great DVD box art quote. It's hard to tell because of all the grain.
It's hard to tell because of all the grain.
John Myers from Jaws.
But yeah, so it's really unclear. It doesn't seem like this entity is so much more interested in like physical trauma onto a thing. You know what I mean? It is like, it's doing damage to these kids, really like, stab yourself in the eye, but it seems less like, oh, I'm just going to eviscerate you and bathe in your blood or something like that. It seems much more interested in this sort of like psychological stuff or whatever. But then it's also, there's a certain element of it too, of like, if you're dealing with this unknown thing, you could maybe make an argument, oh, it's the ghost of a child. That's why he's kind of childlike. And I don't know, but like, it seemed like this completely alien entity, what it wants is just unknowable. What it's getting out of all of this, unknowable. And there's a certain amount of while you could argue on one level that's this sort of a cheap, hand wavy a way to get away with everything. There's a certain amount of to me that's like way scarier. That sort of H.P. Lovecraft, you don't see the monster. You go insane just thinking about it. Where it's like, this is, who knows what the fuck this thing even is or what it wants.
Yeah.
What's it doing
I'm
to
down with
those
that.
kids? I don't know.
My guess is scaring them so their adrenochrome tastes better.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So the
why
monster
I
was
have...
Hillary Clinton this whole time.
Exactly.
I see.
When that 9/11 that 9/11 call, the 911 call was actually to Comet Ping Pong Pizza.
Yeah, that's when at the very end when he's like, "What's your name?" and the voice just goes, "I'm chilling in Cedar Rapids."
Yeah.
Just like Hillary. Yeah, because the thing ends with this like,
I'm on an island. There's a checkerboard floor. I don't know where I am.
there's a cool temple. With just eventually you see what might be the thing, because you see like this possibly a face emerge from the fog, and it just tells Kyle it tells Kevin to go to sleep, and then that's it.
That face reminds me of, and this is probably going to get cut because there's no way you're going to know this, and if you do, I'll just like kiss your forehead. You ever seen that? I think it's supposed to be like a haunted painting that like maybe the guy used his blood in the painting. It's like a reddish,
Yeah,
bald
I know what you're
thing.
talking about.
Like it reminded me of that, but I don't know what that is. I have this like 1/10 of a memory.
What it makes me think of, like my initial thing is who's the guy that played Beretta, killed his wife? That's the name of that tune. It's around the OJ trial time. Yeah, there's a lot Robert somebody. Anyway, his character in Lost
Durst?
Highway. No, that's Fred Durst, the Blink 182. No, that's Linkin Park. No, that's Limp Bizkit. No, that's Robert Durst. Is Jinx.
That's what you're talking about though, right?
No, what I'm talking about is the actor Robert Blake. And his role in not Mulholland Drive. God damn it. In Lost Highway.
Yeah. I've both those things just became one.
Yeah. Clearly my brain was just melting during that whole thing, so don't worry about it. But no, it's like that weird role he plays in Lost Highway, just like the painted white face or whatever. It kind of made me think of that. But because it's so grainy and blurry, it just keeps shifting.
Yeah.
And so who even knows what that is? Don't know. But
painted white face. That's totally fine. All right, yeah, because white people can be the butt of. Sorry,
then that's how you know you're safe.
Rogan.
Yeah. No, but it's basically though that he just this voice tells Kevin like go to sleep, and then Kevin's like, "What's your name? What's your name?" Thing doesn't respond, and the movie ends. That there's no.
Yeah.
Who knows what happens? Is it like, does this thing eat them? Are they trapped there for eternity? Is this thing like, I'm done with you. Okay, guess what? Now it's the morning. This was all a dream. Don't know. Like, there's no catharsis. You're just left feeling uneasy, but not bummed out. Like, not in the way that, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm fine with the ending.
Yeah, it's just mysterious, and you're just left feeling a little, yeah.
Why is this movie called Skinamarink? Because that's like a nonsense song from Sharon. What's the name of them again?
Oh, they're Sharon, Lois, and Bram. I don't think they wrote it, but like it was featured heavily on that.
Okay, yeah, because that's what I know it from. But so the reason I bring that up is there is a Native American thing, the Skinwalker, as John, you might remember from the Manitow.
Mm-hmm.
But Skinamarink, Skinwalker, like I'm not saying they're remotely related, but like I wonder if there's like that's the kind of invocation they're making here.
According to an interview with Kyle Woodball, he said that the inspiration for the film's title came after he heard the song in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, the 1958 movie, and reminded of the Sharon, Lois, and Bram song, which he described as an intrinsic part of his childhood.
Wow.
So he's like, he was drawn to Skinamarink as a film title because of its public domain status and the evocativeness of the hard K sound.
Yeah, you gotta get your comedy K's.
But he said apparently he slightly changed the name so kids wouldn't stumble upon it. But this also speaks to the vibe. My talk about this, sort of the collective unconscious sort of thing about it, is that in an interview in Deadline Hollywood, he said that for his channel Bite Size Nightmare, he would ask viewers to post comments about their nightmares and then like try to shoot recreations of those said nightmares. And Skinamarink was basically inspired by a lot of like common themes in the submitted nightmares.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's very much like it reads as if he got into Jung and then he's like, oh God, this is going to be annoying for about 4 years. It'll pay off in the end. But it's like Dan Harmon harping on about the hero's journey. It's like, we get it. You read fucking Campbell.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Someone was doing this thing recently where they were blaming. They're like, Joss Whedon takes a lot of shit, but Dan Harmon really is to blame for a lot of that shit. And like, Community was this huge thing that people need to acknowledge, like, made stuff worse. And it's like, well, Community was never popular. It just wasn't. I mean, that was the whole thing. Yeah. That's why I got canceled.
And unless I missed something, Dan Harmon didn't direct a fucking Marvel movie.
I think if you wanted to blame Dan Harmon, I think Rick and Morty is more of a thing with that, but that's not him specifically, because you also have Justin Roiland in there, and then that's also feeding into an already existing paradigm that's there. So you're an idiot.
Yeah.
So whoever said that, go to hell. I don't remember who it was, but you're dumb.
Exactly. But the one thing we can say is Justin Roiland. We stand behind him.
He was a great guy. We
stand a legend.
Yeah. Which, oh my God, right, someone, a friend of the show, Greg Baconi, shared a still of the Saturday Night Live episode that Russell Brand hosted.
Oh.
Do you know who the musical guest for that was?
Kevin Spacey and the Cosby and the Cosettes?
Chris Brown.
Whoa.
Yeah.
All right.
So just.
Fuck yeah.
Yeesh.
Yeah. Whoops.
Yeah. Nasty stuff.
Was it a season that Pete Davidson's on? Because I don't know anything about him, but he just seems like something's going to come up at some point.
I don't know about Pete Davidson. I don't like that how much they want me to care about Pete Davidson. I feel like
there's vibes about him,
there's something about him that I find off-putting, but a lot of it is I think bullshit by the fact that there's like, hey, oh man, his dad died 9/11. And whoa, boy, what a brave story that is. You know what we should do? We should make a movie about him called King of Staten Island. It's about his personal life. Oh, okay. Well, that, some people saw it. That's fine. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to make a show about him, about Pete Davidson, the guy, because you're going to like Pete Davidson. Yeah. No, I'm not. Leave me alone.
Yeah, not. Okay, let's wrap up Skinamarink. Hi, my name's Alex. I'm wrapping up Skinamarink. If you like horror movies and long, ponderous things, you'll like this movie. The end. It
was one of the scariest things I saw last year. I love it. I'm probably going to do because it's October, I'll probably do another Myers talks with me about another film that gets mentioned in the same sentence as Skinamarink a lot, called Outwaters. Another found footage movie, but is a lot different, but is also a waking nightmare. Cool. But yeah.
So John, you're going to do that Myers talk with me. Where would people find that?
This May Hurt a Bit has a Patreon now, and I'm going to put it, it is on patreon.com/Alex Bolin, Alex with 2 X's.
Exactly. Well done. I'm proud of you. Recommendations. I don't have anything. I got really confident. I thought I had one. Shit. Oh, Good Omens Season 2. Good Omens Season 1 did the entirety of the book, written by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. This season, obviously, Terry Pratchett passed away. Neil Gaiman wrote it, I don't know, by himself, but he was the lead behind it. And it is a lot better than Season 1 and a lot better than the book. If you ever read the book, there's a whole bunch of stuff about precocious kids, and none of that's there, which makes it a million times better. It's just Crowley and Aziraphale being charming near each other, and it's delightful. Cool. Like every episode is like, oh, this brings me great joy. So I can't, even if you haven't seen Good Omens Season 1, fuck it, don't. Just watch Season 2. It's delightful.
I love both those actors a lot, so makes me interested in checking it out.
It's really, you don't have to sit through Season 1 if you haven't watched it. Like, Season 2 is so really, or Season 1, just every time you see a kid, just fast forward until people show back up. Yeah. John Hamm is in Season 2, and he's really good.
Oh, nice. I keep meaning to watch. There's that new Fletch movie with him in it. It's supposed to be really good. And I'm always a fan of John Hamm, so I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, he's good.
For me, speaking of slow, ponderous things, I had the chance to see a movie by Tsai Ming Liang called What Time Is It There? Just a fascinating, weird movie about 3 people in Taiwan and like their weird connections and that their lives have. It was, I don't even know how to describe it. It's very strange, but it's very slow and ponderous, but man, it really works. Liked it a lot. And then, as I mentioned, that Stop Making Sense. Go check that out. Watch the old version of it. Whatever. If you like Talking Heads, even if you don't, it's cool. It's neat.
Yeah.
David Byrne wears a big
it's not
suit
making
and
sense.
flops around. Who doesn't love that?
Hey, John, you know what we should probably do is in 2 weeks talk about a different movie.
It's a bold strategy. I like it.
Thanks, Cotton. What movie do you think that's going to be?
I think next time we should stay in the in-home horrors. I like that. I like staying in there. But what if instead of all the horror was happening in your home, what if it was coming from out of your home? Perhaps far out of your home. Perhaps a galaxy far, far away.
Oh, finally, we can watch the rest of Ahsoka?
Yes, we're gonna watch people hang around in front of green screens. No, we're gonna watch No One Will Save You. Came out this year with Caitlin Dever and directed by Brian Duffield. Written by him as well, I believe.
Cool. I know nothing about this movie. John said it was good, so we're going to watch that.
I'm excited to
It's on
watch it
Hulu.
again and chat about it, but check it out.
Yes, and we will see you in a fortnight. Goodbye.
Goodbye.